Welcome to Stop the Ride, a sober curious podcast for anyone whose relationship with drugs or alcohol has ever felt a little bit like a roller coaster. I'm your host, Drew Valentino. Sobriety can mean a number of things, so each week I sit down with a new guest to talk about why they decided to distance themselves from the drugs and the alcohol. So whether you are in recovery or just looking to make a few positive adjustments to your life, you are right where you need to be. And on this very special two-part episode premiere, I talk with one of my closest friends, Tricia, to share my backstory with substance abuse. In part two, we talk about why I eventually decided to end my sobriety, how I got caught up in the gay party scene, and why I decided to get sober again for hopefully the last time. Let's get into it.
So we all celebrated your 10-year sobriety, but we all know this is your second time sober now. So walk me through what happened from then until.
Well, a few things happened. What really started was that I got an internship in Michigan for my new career because I left teaching. I started this new career that I love, and it started with an internship in Michigan where I packed up all my stuff and put it in a truck and just drove out there by myself. And I literally messaged people on Grindr before you could do Grindr Explorer. Straight people could never, but you could do Grindr Explorer and talk to people in other places. And I literally just started messaging random people and say, hey, I'm moving there in a few weeks. And then from that, I found this core group of friends. And what a great group to meet too. They're amazing. My friends in Michigan, like they all went out on a boat on the lake and like they took me to all these things. And they started taking me to Chicago, which has a nice nightlife, you know, and a few things happened. One, well, so the lines were kind of blurred. Even at that 10-year dinner, I was sober, by the book sober, for like 5 or 6 years. But then I started to, you know, in the restaurant industry, like I'd have a glass of wine, I'd have, you know, a glass of beer. And I still stand by this. I never had an issue with alcohol. I didn't like to get drunk. I don't like the feeling of alcohol. So that's why I was able to do it, which is so unique because I'm such an addict. But for whatever reason, if I had a glass of wine with dinner or beer with dinner, it was literally because I enjoyed it with my dinner. It wasn't a problem. Yeah. But the problem with that is that I'm such an all or nothing person that it did blur the lines. So, right. So
you start thinking about other drugs.
Right. It was like, yeah. So when I was in Michigan, then they were partying and, you know, would do Coke or do Molly or whatever. And I made an intentional decision that I didn't want to be sober anymore. My logic was, which is funny, it's such an addict thing to do, is these like mental backflips and justification. But my thought process was that I put in my time, right? I was sober. I had my life under control. And I felt that there was a big difference between shooting heroin at 17 compared to doing a Molly as a gay adult when you're 30 and out of the closet now too. And you know what I mean? So like, I just felt like it was a decision that I made that, quite frankly, I stand by that decision now. I look back and it's like that made sense. And it brought me, I mean, the path still happened, right? And brought me here. So it all worked out. But I thought it was a very valid decision. And like, why can't I be like everybody else? You know, all these gays are nuts, right? All the gays love to go to these circuit parties, and the circuit parties are expensive. So the people at the circuit parties are all doctors and lawyers. Yeah. So it's like you meet all these.
They know your dosage,
right? Yeah, right. They're all like these like seemingly happy, successful people that are going to these parties. Why can't I do that? Why can't I be like everybody else? So that was the downfall, because then I got involved in the circuit community. And started to go to these different circuit parties. And yes, you know, I would do a Molly or whatever. Like, but the thing is, in the gay community, we have GHB. And it's basically gay alcohol. And it's a similar feeling. It has like a warmth to it that's almost, it's terrible to say, but almost kind of like a heroin-y kind of like thing, like where you just feel cozy. Not nearly as powerful. It doesn't feel like heroin, but it's like, it has this coziness to it. And but you remember everything, If you do too much, you just fall asleep. So it's like there's no hangover, there's no calories. Gays love to sell you on these two facts. Oh, there's no hangover. There's no hangover, there's no calories. Like the gays love the G.
You told our whole group about
I was you were selling,
you were trying to get me to go and you're like, why are you drinking?
What a waste. And to be honest, even as a sober person, I'm still kind of an advocate for G compared to alcohol. It's so much better. But that's what's dangerous about G is that you can just do it. You could just do it at 3 p.m. with seemingly very little consequences because you're still kind of with it. And when it's over, it just fades away instead of like where alcohol, by the time you're not drunk anymore, you pass out. Like, whereas like G just kind of fades away, you know? So everybody in the circuit community, they do G, they do ketamine, and they do pills. So about
Molly.
Pills, Molly, ecstasy. So I was introduced to K for the first time in Chicago, and that was fun. And then I went on the Atlantis cruise. Oh my God, what a crazy experience!
The one right before COVID.
Yep. Before we even knew COVID.
The founder of COVID.
The founder of COVID. Yeah. And the Atlantis cruise is literally a ship with 4,000 people on it. That it's literally a circuit party day and night for 7 days. And that changed me. Yeah. Because I don't know, it just normalized the circuit, like all the drug use and the partying. And I'm not even saying it like, I mean, I'm still where I am for a reason. Like I don't regret going on the Atlantis. I think I like the Atlantis cruise a lot, but it definitely opened me up. You know what it is? I felt like I had this uptightness about me, just being young and inexperienced as a gay man, that the Atlantis really helped me break free from. Yeah. So in that sense, it was kind of nice, but it did also really push me hard into that direction of like circuit parties.
I noticed a difference with you after that too.
Oh, really?
After Michigan, when you were doing party drugs, I wasn't ever worried or anything. Like it just, like you were convincing me, oh, geez, great, this and that.
Yeah.
But after Atlantis, I mean, I remember driving with you, we were going to dinner, you were like depressed. And
really?
I don't know if it was because of that, but you had a different,
I think if it was right after, I was probably coming down.
Yeah. But I'm saying, but I never witnessed that with you
ever. You never saw it because you knew me for like 10 years completely sober.
So I remember thinking, and it's like I think that's when the group started being like, wait, are these party drugs okay that he's doing? Like there would be rumblings of it, like, is this safe for him to do? Right.
And you just reminded me, it's like they were concerned, and I just saw it like they were concerned for two reasons. It's like, one, regardless of my history, is the circuit culture safe? Yeah. And it's kind of extreme. So it's kind of, but on top of that, they knew my past. Yeah. They knew what
That's, I think, where it was really coming from.
Yeah. If I didn't have that past, I don't think people would have. I don't
think so. Because you were really good at selling it. It was entertaining. You would talk about all these fun things.
I was obsessed.
But because of your past is why I think everyone started getting concerned one by one. And I feel like it was Brian and I who would be like in your defense because like we were both just...
Well, Brian was there with me at the party.
And I had some blinders on, I think.
Yeah. Well, you like I said that you put me on such a pedestal with like you trusted me, and
I really trusted your judgment.
You were so proud of my story.
Yeah.
That
and it wasn't heroin.
Yeah, and it wasn't heroin. That's true. And I will say though, also to be clear, there was a big difference of talking about that compared to when I was on heroin at 17, right? And it's not like my life was spiraling out of control and I was on the verge of ruining my life or dying.
Yeah. You were had your job.
I was functioning. I was very functioning. Like I felt like I knew what I was doing, and it was just different. But I just wasn't happy is the real I was definitely going through problems. It just wasn't like a life or death. Keep in mind, I was in a relationship, a monogamous relationship throughout most of my 20s. So when all this happened was when I just hit 30, just started to be single for the first time in like 6 years, started doing CrossFit and like started feeling good about myself and feeling really secure. And like, I was happy to be single for the first time ever. Yeah. And so then it was like, I went crazy. Like, I'm not actually crazy. It was like, I let loose. I wanted to sleep around. I wanted to party. I indulged. And the circuit party is very that. So I had so much fun, and it almost made it worse that because of COVID, a lot of the things were shutting down and I wanted to do it so badly, but I couldn't. then I kept doing it. I moved to Atlanta in 2021, in April of 2021. And I remember April was fun. May was fun. But the thing is, after that, it was like so much partying and so much drugs.
Is it a big circuit area there?
It was just the summer. So not only was it, yeah. So, okay, it's funny because I moved to Atlanta to be more with other, you know, in the gay part of a city where people are partying. But then I flew out every weekend to some other circuit party. So, but the thing is, not only was it summertime, which is when all the circuit parties really pop off, it was the first summer where circuit parties were happening again because the previous they were not. So people were going nuts. Yeah. In fact, I you know, I'm talking about my experience, but the truth is everyone went way too hard. Everybody, like, it was like because normally it's like, it used to be that you would book Purple Party in Dallas. It's like, they're all different colors, whatever. Okay. You book this party, you'd book Winter Party. You'd book like two. Yeah. You'd book two big ones. Summer 21, every single person booked every single party. Yeah. Like, you would see every single person at every single party. It's like, did you ever go to bed? Like, no. You know, so that's the thing, is I remember being so just, I mean, partying, if not every weekend, like every other weekend. And by the time it was the end of the summer, I was tired. I was depressed. I had anxiety. My brain hurt. I was broke. Like, it was bad.
I remember thinking, well, you were talking about money things all the time. Like, maybe you should stop going to the circuit party.
These circuit parties are $500 for a weekend, not including the drugs. Yeah. I remember I went to Market Days, which is another big one in Chicago. It was actually the first circuit party I ever been to. That's kind of funny. I never thought about that, because it was also kind of like a definitive moment, because I was so excited. I love Market Days. I love Chicago. And I went and I just got fucked up. I just got fucked up, and I barely remember it. It was a horrible time. It was super expensive when I didn't have the money, and I had a horrible time. And I got back.
You're doing every drug.
I was doing G and
every circuit.
Yeah, all the circuit drugs. And I remember I got back feeling like, okay, I need to take a break. We all need to take a break. I'm going to take a break. I remember making a commitment to myself that I was not going to put any drugs or alcohol in my body until Halloween, which was 3 months. And that was such a catalyst to my sobriety, because the truth is that I loved it. I loved it. I have an unfair advantage over people that, you know, are sober curious and like have a problem. That's what we call it. People that know they have a problem but don't know what to do about it, or they want to stop but they're having a hard time figuring it out. I have an advantage because I was sober for 5 to 10 years, depending on how strict we're talking. Yeah. But so like a lot of times when I say, oh, I still go to circuit parties, or I still do this, or I still do that, or that I don't go to meetings, I didn't do the 12 steps, like, by no means, I'm fearful to encourage people to try to do the same, because I have such a very unique experience that started with like all this trauma, and then
But you did go to meetings.
I did go to, yeah, exactly. I went to hundreds of hours of meetings. So it's like I had a very unique path that allowed me to, when I decided to be sober again, it was just a decision and that was it. Whereas a lot of people will likely need professional help. Yeah.
Well, also these 3 drugs, I don't think there's a withdrawal.
There's not. And I will say that I was not tempted to use the drugs unless I was at the circuit parties. So there's lots of people that will do G and K throughout the week, or, you know, or just do ecstasy at home with a bunch of friends. Like I didn't like that. Yeah. So it wasn't like I was doing it all the time, which is why I was just fine. That was okay. But during that 3 months, I felt so good. My body started to self-regulate again. You know, I was sleeping right. I was feeling good. So then I had energy, which was motivating me to go to the gym, motivating me to eat right and focus on my diet. And I was just looking good, feeling good. And I really liked it. But what really was such an eye opener about that is that I started to feel like $1 million. I didn't feel that way after 1 week. I didn't even feel that way after 2 weeks. I mean, I felt noticeably better in 2 weeks. The sweet spot for me, I noticed, was 3 weeks. And in a way that kind of scared the shit out of me. Yeah. I was like, wait a second. I feel great. And this is how we're supposed to feel every day. And we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what it feels like.
What were you feeling? You were feeling run down and tired?
Just when you introduce drugs and alcohol into your body, even if it's just on the weekends, even if you take a weekend off, that's only 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So just feeling, not having the energy or just being in a bad mood or all the feelings we feel as an adult. It's like when they're made worse because of drugs and alcohol, but all we think about is the hangover. I'm hungover or I'm not hungover anymore. Yeah. But it's so much more beyond that. It's like I started to realize, like, when was the last time I went 3 weeks without any drugs or alcohol in my body? It was years. Mm-hmm. And that scared the crap out of me. Yeah. And I'm thinking that the idea that I feel this way and it's just become so normal to just not feel like $1 million that I forgot what it felt like. So at the end of that 3 months, all of a sudden, magically, like, my life was like coming together again. Like, I had money for, like, I was feeling good, and I remember at the end of that, because obviously I did ecstasy on Halloween, but like at the end of that, I remember thinking, I want to feel this more often. Mm-hmm. I want to be more sober more often. I want to do less drugs. I want to go to less parties. And when I go to the parties, I want to do less drugs. Mm-hmm. And that the next year for me was like this balancing act because of my history, Mm-hmm. So the next year I was doing exactly that. I was doing less drugs. I was just booking less parties in general and going out less. And it was an improvement.
Is this when you moved?
No, I was still in Atlanta. I was still in Atlanta. And I remember, it's funny because it's like, I remember being better at it where I was going weeks at a time and counting it. Mm-hmm. But then I was going crazy over the guilt and the mathematics involved in that. It's like, is 3 weeks enough time? Should I do 4 weeks? And then it's like, I finally would do drugs after not for 4 weeks, and I would go kind of hard, and then I would feel so guilty about it. Mm-hmm. And it's like this back and forth guilt was its own separate problem. Mm-hmm. Like, in addition to feeling hungover or whatever other effects drug, for me, even like my best friend Josh, like, he would like, he saw it. He saw the gears turning and me trying to do all this math and think about did I do enough? Did I do too much drugs, or how long should I wait? Is that enough time? Then I feel bad about it. And it was like its own separate problem, mm-hmm. The mental health issue for me, and, I remember, one thing that I'm really glad about that period that I learned during that period. There are times, even it doesn't matter what drug, alcohol, weed, whatever. There's times where when you're doing enough of a drug or for X amount of times or how many hours, we've all been there where you start to feel sober when you're not, mm-hmm. but maybe it's your third day of drinking or whatever, doing G, whatever. And it's like, you're like, wow, the drugs aren't hitting anymore, or I feel sober. And even though I know I'm not, I started to tell myself, what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with feeling sober? And that's part. I started to identify that's when I would get too fucked up, is that I started to feel sober even though I wasn't, and immediately try to fix that. You can't be sober at a circuit party. Yeah. Like, I would immediately try to fix that, and then that's when people do too much and get fucked up. And I started to, my first goal was that if I'm at a party and I'm doing G and I start to feel sober, to just sit in it, mm-hmm. just be okay with it, and just focus on my friends and the people. And I think that was a good first go. Like, it was a good step in the right direction, because it was something I thought about that I liked thinking about. And I mean, I was bored. I wanted to do more drugs, but it was a nice segue, because there was a year of me doing that, and that was another piece of this unique puzzle of, like, me being able to be sober again and, mm-hmm. and go to parties, because mm-hmm. I started to develop this experience being at the parties kind of sober, mm-hmm. or mostly sober. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, my life was not like spiraling out of control or anything, but I do feel like there were moments where I got too fucked up. There were moments where I felt guilty. There was moments where I was high and lost my phone on the dance floor, and so there was just a lot of chaos. There was a lot of chaos. I think for me, because of my history, I would feel guilty about that chaos. Mm-hmm. And I remember I moved to Los Angeles, which is a very dangerous place to be if you're addicted to drugs or really anything. And well, for one, I should mention that I think that sometime in Atlanta, but then carried over to Los Angeles for sure, I think that there was definitely sex addiction, you know, and only recently have I felt like it's not an issue anymore. I started to talk about it with my therapist regularly, and then being sober helped. I think a lot of times I would use sex to try to fix how I was feeling. If I was not feeling good, grumpy, tired, cranky, whatever. And ever since getting sober, like I said, now I feel like $1 million every day. Now I don't have a reason to fix how I'm feeling because I feel good. So being sober was crucial for my sex addiction, but there was a few years where I was just really going at it, like with, you know, Grindr or specific hookups or whatever. And I remember I moved to Los Angeles and had this just addictive behavior, you know, with sex and these circuit weekends. I will say the last year of me, I was doing a lot better. I also was doing way less ecstasy, which I think helped. But then the problem was with that, without the stimulant, and I would just do G and K, I'd get too fucked up because there's nothing to balance it out. Yeah. So then there was times where I would got sick. And then this all came to a head. I moved to Los Angeles in April, and I got sober at San Diego Pride in July 18th. I went down to, I'm laughing because I went down with friends that I've met and knew, but it was my first time staying with them for the weekend. It was like a new group of friends. I was really excited. And Josh, who I normally go with, was in Europe, so he wasn't there. And I'm laughing because I remember saying to myself, I do not want to do ecstasy. Do not do ecstasy. You just want to have a good summer. You haven't done it in a few months. You want to keep that going. Yeah. And I stuck to that. I didn't do it, but I'm laughing because we get to the party and they're like, do you want to bump a Coke? It's a new group of friends. I didn't say make any rules about Coke. Yeah. You know what I mean? I haven't even done Coke.
I thought you said no one does Coke at circuit
They
parties.
don't. That's what's so strange. That's why I was so caught off guard. And it's like, okay, well, I was so strict on I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I never made any rule about Coke. so I was like, sure. And nobody could just do a bump of Coke. You know what I mean? And then I did not a ton of it, but I did Coke throughout the night. And then the next night, you know, so that was Friday night, Saturday. And then Sunday, and mind you, the whole time I felt terrible. I just felt gross and horrible. And was just trying to the only reason I'm trying to do more Coke is to just fix how horrible I felt from it, which makes no sense. So the problem was that Sunday was the tea dance, which is like daytime vibes. Do straight people even know what the tea dances is?
I have no idea.
Well, it's like it's like a daytime pool vibes with like
daytime
70s music. Yeah. So basically, that's funny. So at that party, that was the first party I was going to where my friends were done for the weekend and they were doing their own thing. We parted ways. Now I had just been doing Coke for 2 days, and now my friends that have the Coke and do the Coke are not with me anymore. My plan was to go to the tea dance and then leave after the tea dance and drive home. But because I felt so bad from doing Coke for 2 days and then not, I did G, I did K, which like I probably was going to do a little tiny bit and then wait hours and hours and hours or something. But like, I remember being on the dance floor in the sun. I was like dehydrated and hungry. I didn't eat and like empty stomach. Like I just did Coke for 2 days and then stopped. And like, I just got really nauseous, but did too much K where I was like in a K hole and I was like dancing just like a robot and just like, I mean, not doing the robot, but like I was like stuck, you know what I mean? Like I was just stuck in zombie mode and I couldn't, I knew I didn't feel well, but I was too high to remove myself. Yeah. And I'm in this, it's outside and I'm in the sun and I started to get really nauseous. And finally I like had enough sense to go sit down by the bushes. And it took me a while to even be able to text somebody that I was not okay. And I was nauseous.
You had friends there.
I had friends there. Okay. And then my friend, who's my neighbor in LA, he went and he came to me. I somehow got him. I don't know if I texted him or I saw him and he came and helped me. Now this was a pool at a hotel where you could get rooms at the hotel and he had a room. So he was like, oh my God, I'll help you come to my hotel, whatever. And on the way to the hotel, I remember feeling so fucked up. Elevator door, I don't know if it was on the way into the elevator or the way out, but I think maybe the elevator made me nauseous When the elevator opened and there was a garbage right there, I just projectile vomited into the garbage, but in front of a family of 4 that are also staying at the hotel. I felt
what a weekend they were there for, huh?
Right? They probably, I don't know. I always think about that. They probably have no idea. I felt so disgusting, nauseous, embarrassed. And he brought me to his room and he was like, do whatever you need to do. Here's some water. If you need to take a shower, here's some mouthwash. Like you need to lay down, whatever you got to do. And he went back to the party and he closed that door and I just started crying. Like I just started crying. And it's funny because it's like, what happened wasn't that serious, but it hurt.
Yeah.
Because of what I've been through. And
you lost control. I
lost control. And even the thing is with the Coke thing, it's like, because there was this curveball that I wasn't expecting. I had this plan to keep it together. And then there was this curveball. And because I'm an addict, it all just fell apart. And I had a horrible weekend because of drugs. And I was just really upset with myself. I was really upset. And I remember when I was crying, thinking like, what if this is it? What if this is what I needed to happen? And I remember saying like, what if July 18th is the day you decide to get sober? And then I said it out loud and I decided like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I've been sober curious, like for a year. I've been like teetering. Oh, I'm only going to do 2 months, whatever. And I felt good. It allowed, actually, you know what's so nice is that I remember making this decision and going back I showered, and I went back to the dance floor. And the T dance is all about love, and it's like all like this, like they play really good disco music, and just I don't remember what song was on. I remember I had sunglasses on, and I remember dancing with my friends, you know, friends I really care about, including the one that helped me. And I remember being so happy that like this, it just hit me like I'm gonna get sober. I'm gonna get sober again. Yeah. You know, and I remember feeling so good about it. And my friend who just helped me in his room said, "You're okay now, right?" And then a single tear went down my and I just hugged him and I said yes. And I kind of like just cried a little bit as he hugged me. And it was just a really nice moment. It was like, I think I had even said to him, I think I'm going to be sober now. Yeah. And I think that's what made me start to cry. But it was happy. It was a really great moment that I kind of forgot about actually until right now. But I love and appreciate that friend very, very much. And that was it. That was it for me. That was 2.5 years ago. It'll be 3 years this July.
Wow.
So yeah.
There's probably always going to be curveballs at circuit parties. Like if and you were teetering balancing a line, an invisible line that was changing all the time. So, you know, I know you and you haven't stopped going to circuit parties. You still do fun things. You still go to Pride. So how do you do that? Yeah,
so that's a good question. So in fairness, I did take a break. I did take a break. When I got back, it was the end of, you know, there was only a few months left. I had a few things booked. I think I just stopped going to things for that summer. And then it was the parties kind of end. Like the last one is like Atlanta Pride in October, and then it's winter, and I just focused on me, and I just didn't. I mean, there's lots of circuit parties in LA, just smaller ones, you know, that aren't these big deals. And I started playing video games. I started playing video games and getting takeout, and I know that's such a simple thing, but the thing is, all my friends were going out, and then I just liked this idea of like, but imagine if I just had Thai food and played Zelda.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I loved video games growing up, and when I started, that all ended when I started doing heroin. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like they say that like when you're an addict and you like the drugs will start to replace things that make you happy, and you start to not care about your hobbies and interests. Video games, that was a big thing for video games for me. And even as I got not sober again as an adult, going to these different circuit parties, I didn't play video games because I just didn't have time. I was constantly, my life was in shambles because I was tired and crashing. So I just never had time because I had all these appointments, like I had to do this, I had to clean the apartment, and just, I never felt caught up. But then when I was sober, I suddenly had all this time to play video games. Yeah. And I was like, how great is that? Like I could just play video games, get some Thai food, and stay in for the weekend. And I was like, I kind of love this. Yeah. Sure, I probably gained 10 pounds, but so worth it, you know?
So when you're at an actual party,
okay,
so you took this break.
And again, very unique set of experiences that allow me to do this because I did go through all that trauma and was sober for 10 years under my belt, you know, and there was a whole year where I was going to these parties pretty sober already. Sober-ish. So it was a really unique thing. And I just started to focus on my friends, like, and being like silly and like making my friends laugh. And a lot of these parties, there's lots of like sex, you know, there's a dark room or there's an after. Well, I don't go to afters, but like.
What is an after?
After. You're so cute. But afters is like when the party's over at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning.
Party?
Yeah.
Oh.
But but the thing is everybody's on ecstasy, so nobody knows. So everybody like goes. So sometimes there's a ticketed event that's just another circuit party that starts at 5, goes till like noon.
Oh, and 5 a.m.
But yeah, and everybody's messy, you know. And or people will have an afters at their place, but it's just like everybody's just doing more ecstasy and having sex. So you know, probably a little different than a straight person's afters. But yeah, I found that I really prided myself on the fact that like I leave by 2. I have a little iced coffee maybe at like 10, and I'm out by 2. I'm there for a few. I get there like 11:30. I leave by 2:30, depending on how I'm feeling. Also, sometimes I get there and I just assess within 40 minutes that it's just like I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
Or I'm having a good time, but everybody's starting to get really messy, and I need to go.
Yeah.
And is
that because of a craving, or just you're just tired and you just?
I don't have the drugs. No, it's not. It's not a temptation. It's just I don't have the drugs to help boost the mood. So it's like if I'm just not feeling it, or everybody's too high around me, or I'm just tired, it was a learning curve to just accept that and say, you know what, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset, or I'll try again next time. You know what I mean? And sometimes I leave within an hour. Sometimes I'm there till 4 in the morning. You know.
So even in that situation, it's not like you're tempted or.
No.
So it wasn't like any kind of physical dependence on anything.
No, I was not. Obviously, I wanted to do it, but that feeling started to fade away, and I feel like I eventually unlocked this magic power where like eventually I didn't even want to do the drugs, and I would have such a good time and get to sleep and go to the gym the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But one thing I learned about myself during this time is that when I made this decision to do drugs again, it's not my life wasn't necessarily spiraling out of control. My mental health was not great, but I wasn't spiraling out of control, but I lost that power I had in my 20s. Like I started that was one of the things. It's like I had this drive in my 20s that was gone. I wanted to get back into stand-up comedy for like 2 years before I did.
Yeah.
But I just was too busy with circuit. And it's just like, I was like, that mattered to me. Like, I want that to matter to me again. I want to accomplish all these things, you know?
Definitely got it back when you got back.
I definitely got back. And that's the thing is that when I remember when I got back from San Diego Pride, Eddie Burke comes back and says, we were like circuit buddies. So all of a sudden he comes back from Europe for a month and I'm sober now. He's like, what happened? He was not against it, but he was just like, what?
Yeah.
So we decided to get dinner to catch up, but specifically with what happened. And I remember trying to explain to him at San Diego Pride what happened. I couldn't even get through it. We were there. It took a while of that dinner for me to finally get it all out, because once I started talking about it, I would just start bawling my eyes out. I would start crying. And he said something that was really helpful for me to hear. And he was like, this is not normal. Like, you know, he was like, most people, what you're describing is just a normal, like, you got a little fucked up at a Pride weekend. That happens to hundreds, thousands of people every Pride. You know, like most people feel like shit on Monday, maybe not so great on Tuesday, but then that's it.
Yeah.
And he, like, here we are a week later, I couldn't even get through the story. He was like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of clicked is like, I harbor so much guilt around my drug use that it's its own separate problem. And I realized that, like, this is the answer to the question that I had when I first decided I want to do drugs again in Chicago, is like, why can't I be like everybody else? you were on fucking heroin at 17.
Yeah.
Addiction runs in your family. You're an addict. You're not like everybody else. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm proud of that, actually. It's the fact that I'm the one saying it that puts me back in the driver's seat. That was my epiphany the second time I got sober, is I'm not like everybody else. I have a problem. And it feels so good to say that. It feels so good for me to be the one to say, I have a problem. Like people think sober people are boring. It's like, no, I go too hard. I can't. You know what I mean? It's like, and so yeah, that was a big realization I had. You know, it's something that they say in AA is they say once an addict, always an addict. And it's just this idea that being an addict is really just who you are. It's just part of who you are. And I agree with that. Yeah. And once, I think the key to my success in both sober journeys is accepting that and running with it. You know what I mean? It's like, I am very much an addict, and there's no changing that. There's no fixing that. I'm an addict in every capacity, you know, and like, I just need to keep putting it towards the positive things like I did in my 20s, you know.
When you're at these parties, now I know you don't go pride. It's not what you're doing every weekend, obviously, but there's still the big pride, like the big pride events you're going to. Are there other people like you there?
I have met maybe two sober people out of the thousands and thousands of people. Yeah, not really.
No,
not really. And that's kind of why, that's part of the reason why I want to make this podcast.
Yeah, is
that I guess that's something else. Another message I kind of want to get out there is that if you don't even need to have a problem to reap the benefits that I'm talking about, of that, like feeling like $1 million, and you don't even have to be an addict to say, yeah, when was the last time I went 3-4 weeks without drugs or alcohol in my body? You know, fuck sober or dry January. Like, why not do a few months of the year? You know what I mean? It's you just gain so much clarity. And in fairness, not all circuit queens are addicts. Well, a lot of them are, but like a lot of them, you know, just like to party. Actually, speaking of all this, I remember maybe like 2 years ago, I had a close friend reach out to me who is not necessarily an addict, and doesn't have issues with addiction, but he does do the party drugs. Yeah. He's just not an addict. And he came to me with some life stuff that he was just going through a rough time, but he was still going to these circuit parties and doing ecstasy and stuff. And I said to him, like, if you feel like you have if all these factors are working against you, if all these things happening in your life are working against you, you at the very least should have your body and mind working for you. You know what I mean? And that's something that I hope more people can understand, is that you don't need to have an addiction to assess and say, I would like 2-3 months of clarity and 2-3 months of feeling the best I could possibly be to get me through this difficult time, or this really happy time, or this time that I'm proud of, or whatever it is, you know.
So is it safe to say if someone sees Andrew at a circuit party, you know, they already have the tickets booked for a circuit party or a pride or something, and they see you, should they feel comfortable to come see you?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Come say hi.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm doing this sober.
Oh my God. That would make me so happy. I definitely have a special connection with people that if I'm talking to somebody on like Grindr and then I realize that they're sober,
that goes back to how you used to have crushes on people who were in addiction. You like to help them.
Oh,
do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do feel like I do cling to people. I do cling to people, both. Okay, people that are sober, obviously that's like such a turn on to me. Yeah. But then people that are struggling, and I feel bad. And I'm like, I'll save you. Yeah, that's like a conversation for my therapist. That's something I need to get away from. Yeah. But yeah.
Do you think about this daily? Like, are you thinking about what you're missing out on, or do you feel like you want to get high ever, or that's just...
No. Yeah. I don't feel like I want to get high. That went away years ago, and I'm so glad. I do think about my addiction every single day. Wow. I think about my friend that passed away every single day. To be honest, I tell my therapist all the time, I'd say at least every other day, I have a moment where I think to myself, thank God I'm sober. Oh my God. I just remember I've just been through a lot, you know, and just all the chaos. And then I think about somebody once described it as like, it's important in life to find your peace, and that they realize specifically to them that to find their own sense of peace require them to stop doing drugs. And I think that's such a great way to describe it, because I do feel so calm. There's this calmness that I have now that is constantly there. Even if I'm having a bad day, even if I'm tired, it's like when like I said, you know, I was talking about how you start the magic spot is like 3 weeks, you feel like $1 million. I have now not put drugs or alcohol in my body for 2.5 years. So now if my emotions are more stable, you know, like if I have a really bad day, it's like, I just feel like, you know, it's
so you don't
so much better.
You don't feel like if a bad day doesn't trigger, you don't want to use or anything.
No. I ironically started listening to his podcast about sobriety, and then a lot of these people on there are heroin addicts, and they're describing what they went through as heroin addicts, including stories like mine where they injected for the first time, or they're describing the high, and it does kind of glorify it. And I'm like, oh, that used to feel good. And I'm like, wait, that's the whole point of this whole podcast. They're talking about how their whole life fell apart, and that's the thing. That's the piece I needed to accept, is that like, yes, these things feel good, and yes, going into a circuit party and doing ecstasy is fun. For me and for many people, you can't have one without the other. You can't have the high without all this other chaos, you know, that comes with it. So I'm just so glad that I'm not doing that anymore.
I'm not sure if this is something you're supposed to ask an addict, but do you feel for the rest of your life you'll be sober?
I do feel that.
Yeah.
I do feel that. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking that, but I think that because I went through it twice in each had their own special emotional piece to it, that this was like, this one has locked me in. Yeah. Like I'm literally doing a podcast on sobriety now. Like I'm so happy about my sobriety. I'm so grateful for it. And the thing is, I gave it a shot of like, oh, let me try partying. Yeah. And it was not it. Like, you know, like now I'm just like so much happier. Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode of Stop the Ride. I want to thank Tricia for always being my #1 supporter and for being on my podcast. Join me next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, where I talk with my lifelong best friend, Brian Valerio, who opens up about his journey with alcohol and cocaine. You could see all of our episodes plus some additional content at stoptheridepodcast.com. Make sure to follow Stop the Ride Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you enjoyed the show, please do me a big favor and share with a friend or leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Stop the Ride.
This podcast is brought to you by Liberty Lane Films, truly independent.